Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Welcome to episode 125 of Hobby Quick Hits. And as most know, the National in Atlantic City was a few weeks back, had a great time. And one of those parts of that great time, that great experience for the week, was on that Thursday of National Week, I got to take the main stage as part of Sports Card Nation Live. And when I got the notification that I was going to be blessed to do it again, I always try to bring up folks with me, and rather than just me myself, that I enjoy or I think are great, representatives of the hobby, if I may be so bold. And so I had three gentlemen join me on stage for that live Mike Berkus Main Stage performance. Tony and Oz from Cousins Collectibles podcast, and Danny Black at Sportsbalt. He does a radio, sports radio on Baltimore segment pertaining to collectibles, where he answers questions, and he's very knowledgeable. He's a sports card broker. So I had those three gentlemen. We did about just under 30 minutes of content, and it was I think I speak for all of us, and it was a great time, and it was fun chopping up the hobby. And people, while we were doing it, we had a lot more people kind of sit down and follow along. And so this is that audio. So today's show is going to be the audio from that main stage performance. Obviously, many did not either see it or were in Atlantic City. So for those that didn't catch it, this will be, about 27 minutes of that main stage performance. I hope you enjoy it. We had a lot of fun doing it. But before we get to that, let's hear from our great sponsors, Mojo Breaks.
MojoBreakShop.com is the best place to get your sealed wax products and breaks. They not only have the best selection, but the best prices. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they are your guys. They ship worldwide to your doorstep. Their reputation as one of the most trusted in the hobby goes unmatched. They are the 2021 Topps Rip Party Champion Breakers. From sports card to Pokemon cards, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders.
Hey guys, John Newman here. Mojo's prices are already great, but to save an additional 10% off anything in their store, use the code QUICKHITS. That's QUICKHITS. Check out the full service store that's open 7 days a week in Santa Clara, California, or the website at mojobreak.com. All right, got me this week doing this week's new releases, which are not plentiful, not a ton of them, but let's go over the ones that we do have. On the 16th, 2022, Leaf Autographed Jersey Multisport. On the 17th, 21-22, Topps Finest Bundesliga Soccer. Also on the 17th, 21-22, Panini Obsidian Basketball. Staying on the 17th, 2021-22, Upper Deck Extended Series Hockey. On the 17th as well, 21-22, Topps Chrome Paris Saint Germain soccer set. I have no idea, but if you like soccer, you probably do. On the 18th, 2022, Best of Benchwarmer. On the 19th, 2022, Leaf Lumber Baseball. Staying on the 19th, 2022, Leaf Signature Series Soccer. And our last release for this week on the 19th, 2021, Panini Donruss Optic Football H2. There you go. Choose your weapon. Happy ripping.
Time for the segment where you ask me a question and I answer it here on the podcast.
All right, today is one of those questions where I had multiple people contact me and ask me my opinion. So I felt like probably a good question to use in this segment. And we all heard the recent news that Fernando Tatis Jr. Got caught using performance-enhancing drugs, specifically one called Collectibles, Clostebol, famously used by the East German weightlifting team and really a lot of their Olympic athletes. It's been on the banned substance list of Major League Baseball since, I believe, 2003. Not the first person to get caught using it. D. Gordon of the Marlins in 2016 got caught using that substance after he won the league batting title. It is a performance enhancer. This is not one of those where you point helps me heal kind of quicker. Tatis said he took it by accident. Whether you believe him or not, that's what he's saying. And he's not appealing that suspension. This is not a good look. I mean, the question I get asked is how will this affect his card market? It obviously will affect it initially. He's going to serve a suspension without appealing. So we're not going to see him the rest of this year. And I believe part of 2023 he'll miss as well. And this is a player, performance enhancers aside, this is a player that can't seem to stay on the field for a whole year under normal pretenses. So this just adds to the list of that. If he was to come back and never get caught again and stay healthy and put, full seasons on the books and play well, then this might be a blip. But right now it's more than a blip. So it's really going to be on him to determine how big of a black eye this actually is. It's going to be how he responds. If it's a one-time offense and never happens again. But it's never going to go away. It's on his record, right? It's like, when you hear people, they did stuff as a juvenile and their record gets clear, and then they do stuff as an adult and it stays on your criminal record. Well, this is the baseball equivalent of that. So sure, it's going to affect how people view him, how people buy or sell him, but how big of an effect is going to be on when he comes back. Does he stay healthy? Does he put up numbers? And does he not get caught a second time using PEDs? That's really what it comes down to. And the bigger picture here, if we want to talk about the baseball picture, not the hobby picture, is, Juan Soto just got traded there. Obviously, they want to keep him long term. You don't give up everything the Padres did, which was a good portion of their prospects to acquire him. But if you're Juan Soto, this probably affects your decision-making of whether you want to stay in San Diego or not when this happens. I know that sounds weird, but I do believe that. If you're Soto and one of your best performing teammates gets caught doing performance-enhancing drugs, it may influence your decision whether you want to stay there or not. And I heard he wanted to go to an East Coast team. San Diego obviously is not an East Coast team, so that might be a factor. And so I don't know. There's a lot of, tentacles to this, if you will.
Let's go round the hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
All right, not a heavy news week, but one big story. We'll save that one for last. First, Topps Fanatics has announced a deal with the NBL, the National Basketball League. That's out of New Zealand and Australia. It's a 10-team league. They will begin producing cards for that league that's been around for 40 years. I believe it's the first cards for the league. That production will begin in the fall, and it will contain exclusive game-worn and autographs of that league's top stars. It will be sold in select retail locations and direct through Topps' website. Get used to that, hearing that saying a lot, direct from Topps' website, as Fanatics continues to knock out distributors. All right, the second story is a bigger one, and I'm not going to go into super details because I'm actually going to devote a whole episode of Hobby Quick Hits probably next week to this issue with BBCE, Baseball Card Exchange, and owner Steve Hart. But the latest incarnation involving them involves a box of 1986-87 Fleer basketball that Whatnot had various content creators and store owners open that was apparently tampered with. These cards were in alphabetical order. If you've been around the hobby long enough, or even if you haven't been in the hobby, many know that there's a sequence to the cards. That sequence was off in those packs that were open. BBCE wrapped and authorized this box, even after admitting that one pack was definitely tampered with and another was opened. And they replaced those two packs with two other packs to seal it, which is head-scratching, quite frankly, in itself. Again, I'm going to go into more detail on a whole episode of Hobby Quick Hits. But, you know, it was acquired from a company called Triple Double Sports Cards. Steve Hart is on camera talking about the two packs they had to replace. They call it a built box. I don't know what that means. You just get random 36 packs, I guess. And if those 36 packs can pass inspection, then it's certified. To me, if you're going to certify a box, it's got to be what's submitted to you as a full box. And if any of those packs, 1, 2, or more, don't pass inspection, you can't seal that box. And they did. And again, we all remember the G.I. Joe debacle. Add this one to the list. And, you know, as someone who has wrapped BBCE boxes, not on the level of an 86, 87 Fleer basketball, full disclosure, but like, what does the wrapping even mean now? This is twice this company has egg on their face. And as someone who has sealed BBC, I don't even care. I'm almost tempted to take that seal off. It's almost like a black eye at this point. And I'll close with this. If you ever were thinking of getting into the authentication of sealed wax or whack, the door is open now. BBCE, Steve Hart, to me, have opened the door. Their credibility has taken 2 hits to the side of the boat directly. There's big holes and water seeping in. So if you ever, but again, if that's something you want to do, you get your, all your stuff in order. Make sure you know what the heck you're doing. But we got 1 million card graders and only one wax or box authenticator, but that door is open for someone else to try to come in with some integrity here and clean this up, because this is not good.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, let's give it up for Sports Card Nation and his crew.
Thank you. First off, I want to thank Rob Bertrand for does this every year, does a great job, and David Geffen for giving us the time. And when I knew I was going to have 30 minutes up here, I said, I'm an ugly guy. I need some better looking folks up here with me. But and then we're in Atlantic City, and the guys to my right here, Tony and Oz from Cousins Collectibles podcast. I said I want to get some local flavor. That's a great show. If you're not listening to it yet, don't change that. And then to my left, Mr. Danny Black from Sportsbalt. very good friends. And these are great guys, and wanted to have them up here. So, Danny has worked for the Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves organizations, dealer like me in the 90s, which just means we're old guys, and does a broker now and does a radio show in Baltimore on the air. So, and like I said, Tony and Oz from Cousins Collectibles. So I want to direct the first question to you guys. This is your first national. You walk in and then you come on the main stage. I don't know how often that occurs, but like just your thoughts, your initial impression, walking in and for your first national and seeing everything.
Well, first off, thanks, John, for giving us the opportunity to be on here. If it wasn't for you, obviously we wouldn't be here. But just walking into our first national, it's crazy because, we're used to the smaller shows in Philly that we go to. It literally took us about 45 minutes to find the main stage. We asked everybody and their mom where it was. We went all the way down, came back around, obviously checked out some cards. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, like I said, again, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, and first off, we're not the real guys. The real Cousins Collectibles, they're without shirts. We beat them up outside somewhere. So we got to get this done before the real guys show up. But this is awesome, dude. And again, we appreciate you having us on. And I just echo what Oz said. The card overload is going to start soon. So as soon as we're off of here, we're off to the races.
And this is not Danny's first national, but it's the first time up here. Just what do you think about that?
I think that they did it much faster than I did. This is my fourth or fifth national. It just keeps getting bigger. The variety, the age groups, everything. I think it's getting better every year. So that's the thing that struck me this year. Last year we came out of the pandemic. This year, I mean, it's even more excitement in the room. So that's the vibe I've gotten in the first 2 days, and very excited. And thank you for having me.
All right, I see a couple people leaving, so I'm not below bribing people. I have free T-shirts after we're done, not before, after. So either stick around or come back in like 20 minutes, and then. All right, but first question, I want to talk about and get these guys' input. Obviously, is it's been a crazy 3.5 years, 4 years in the hobby. We've seen the trajectory go through the ceiling. Now we're seeing that kind of settle down and calm down. Just your guys' thoughts. What are we going to see in the coming year between this national and the next one in Chicago?
Go ahead. Well, I think the next thing that's coming up, it really, everything's going to be geared to collecting what you love. A lot of people, for the last couple years, it's all been about just trying to get the most expensive thing and investing and doing all these things to make the most amount of money possible. But I think a lot of the hobby's shifting now to where people are just going to be looking. And, whatever it is that you collect, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, Stranger Things, whatever it is, just something that, touches you. And, again, you can, if you like it, you can still go ahead and invest in, whatever the best product is for that particular, thing. So, but at the end of the day, just collecting what you love. So that's pretty much.
Yeah, it's, as you said trajectory, because we always see this room is full of new players, right? Rookies and all that stuff. And that seems to be where sometimes a lot of people gravitate towards. I think we're going to get away from that a little bit to more stuff that's tried and true. I mean, so there's tons of vintage baseball in here. That's where I'm focusing at. And I think that as people learn the hobby, because you got to remember, a lot of these guys aren't going to pan out to what they're being hyped up to be. So that's just... And you learn that as you go along in the hobby. So it's just, I think that we're going to see a little bit more people gravitating towards the tried and true.
Couldn't agree more on the vintage. Absolutely, the shift is going there quickly. Over the next year, what I'm seeing everywhere, and this started with tickets, is people want a connection to the actual player or game. So every item that has authentic game-worn items, autographs, the ticket to the game, especially if it's a significant event, I think is going to blow away cards. For those of us that lived through junk wax and, have more 89 Griffies than I, could have ever done anything with, I think we're in junk parallel right now. And I think the production, the pop numbers are through the roof. When you have the Prisms, 3 of them now have 20,000 tens, coming out of PSA, I mean, that's overpopulation. So it doesn't matter what it is. When you look at the parallels on the total volume, literally 50 variations on some of the new Prism sets. That's not a collectible market. That's false maneuvering of the accounts. I think people are over that. I think base, I think numbered is not the future. Once again, the autograph gives that connection to the player. So I think the autographs, the memorabilia, the personal stuff. I see more people want to be with the athletes, actually an experience. Yeah. So I think all that is going to, like you said, much more to what you like, and the flippers and everybody in the last couple of years, I think they're going to go by the wayside.
I'll answer my own question. Before I do that, I'm going to give a couple of shout outs. I see, Danny's family here, I think there's like 30 of you, so thank you. Another great sports our podcast, our hobby podcast, Sports Card Nobody. Shane Norton is in the building. Thank you. Brody the Kid, who he owes everything to me. And no, I'm kidding. Brody's great, and he's the official kid of the 42nd National here in Atlantic City. Although I will argue that you probably have to give up that title, Brody, here pretty soon. We'll have like official teenager of the net. But I kid. I love Brody. I think my own tendencies. I've always done vintage, but the last couple years I've really put more emphasis on that, and I think I'm walking around even in the couple days I've been here. That's the vibe I get. Is there's a lot of people doing that. I saw one particular gentleman with a Pelican case put it on a dealer's showcase, all new stuff, and he said, I want to get rid of this and just I like some of your vintage. Would you either buy my stuff or would you consider trading? I didn't obviously stick around to watch what the outcome of that was, but and I saw that a few times. So I think it's hard to just see a couple things and paint with a broad brush, but I do think that's where the market's going. But people like to say the hobby's dead. You look around here, if this is dead, I'm scared to think what alive might look like. But the hobby's not going away. This stuff has happened, for years, ups and downs. And people who, like Tony and Oz and Danny point out, people have passion. They're going to do it no matter what's going on, even outside the hobby, to find ways to adapt. We've got, tons of bargain boxes here, singles club. So whatever your budget might be, whether it's, 5 figures, 6 figures, or, $100, there's something for everybody here. And I always say, if it isn't here, it probably doesn't exist most likely. And, we got a card in the building right now. I think we all know, and some of you out there might know, at Heritage Auctions, that's probably going to bring over $10 million. It's a 9.5 52 tops Mantle SGC. And it's it's going to be the most expensive card ever sold in the hobby for now, until who knows what comes along next. But
can I piggyback real quick off of that? So you guys had brought up the vintage, and I went right a little too fast on that. Getting back to the population counts, vintage is the original limited population, and I think that's where the long-term excitement comes from. There's no parallels. There's no other versions, and there were obviously for historical reasons they were printed so long ago. They've become almost a historical item on top of that. So the vintage is strong to me on several different levels. It's a multi-generational item, and that's one of the things I think in cards and collectibles people enjoy, is passing that down from one generation to another, and vintage gives you that option. I'm not going to wait for Mike Trout to become vintage. The population counts is really what drives the price, and I think that's one of the least understood things in the hobby, is knowing how many of that card actually exist. You can take any graded card in the room and scan it and see how many any of that card in that grade exist. That's virtually impossible with a lot of the modern cards. All the different grading companies and the overprinting, you don't get that. So I just want to turn back around. You guys had a great point. When you get into that vintage, it is a true population control, which helps that value go up. From a financial standpoint, the overall card market last quarter was down 25% on average sales. Vintage was only down 4%. So you compare that to a lot of the other financial numbers, that just shows you the steadiness within there. On top of that, I think you're going to have a lot of people that spent a lot of money in the last couple of years. They're going to have to sell a lot of product now. And I think you will start getting good buys. But vintage, and John and I were talking about this earlier, some of the vintage guys, their prices haven't gone down. I'm shopping for a 55 Koufax, and they're more or less the prices I saw last year. So I think that's just something to consider. If you're looking for something, population count is a really important thing if there's financial interest.
I see Shane Norton nodding yes. I think he agrees with us. And that's the thing, walking around the show. I know you guys just got here, but I'll check back in with you later when you get but a lot of the dealers are, above comps. They don't want to, and I'm a dealer myself, not here. I'm not set up here, but when I do shows, I have to make the decision. I either got to price it at comps or don't put it out, right? Or don't bring it to the show. And, someone asked me, when are we going to see maybe dealers honor comps, if you will? And, my answer is they can put a price on whatever price they want. It's their inventory, their cards, right? We have choices as consumers to either, maybe ask them to go lower or not buy it, right? So, that's, I'm seeing a lot of, I talked to a couple dealers today, earlier, asking them how yesterday was, and they're like, a lot of people selling. So you're going to make what you will of that.
I'm going to argue just 1 second.
Yeah.
The vintage buyers were buying. So on top of it, that was the weird dynamic. No modern person was buying at all. Not one person on the beginning of the
It's
show.
almost the evolution of the collector. You know what I mean? A lot of people came into the market these last 2 years expecting to get rich overnight. They got in all the shiny, new, flashy, on-card autos, all that good stuff, And it's almost like I said, it's the evolution. So once you start getting more experience in the hobby, you almost start gravitating towards that vintage. You know what I mean? It almost is like it's a maturation of the collector. And so, like you're saying, a lot of people, they got stuck with a lot of this new stuff, which isn't bad, to each his own.
How much were Zion-based prisms going for?
Too much, yeah.
I mean,
but this is almost like the last hurrah for a lot of those dealers that have this merchandise. It's almost like, okay, yes, my comps are high. Let me see what I can get, and maybe by the end of the week, they're going to realize.
Do you think the consumer's gotten smarter? Do you think that's part of the problem?
A ton. I think the consumer has come in, especially the last year, when they realize, again, going back to base parallels, and things like that, like it didn't make sense, the prices that people were paying for a lot of these cards. So people have gotten smarter, and like I said, they're maturing. So they realize, that base Zion Gem Mint 10 isn't really worth, what a Mantle vintage card would be. So,
well, and like you said, they bought it for a couple $100, right, and now it's $25, or whatever it is. And how many can you sell to even feel good at night? You paid for grading, you paid for the card.
Yeah. You're just going to have to take the hit.
You're underwater for years.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're either going to hold that card and hope Zion goes to the moon, plays his ass off next year, and makes up for everything, or you just take the hit, say, let me get what I can get, and then take the money that you got and reinvest it into something.
But I don't think younger dealers are accepting the hit.
I was about to say, that's the thing. You got to realize you're probably going to have to take a loss. If you can't come to that realization, then it's just that card's just going to keep sinking and sinking and sinking. Then you're like, oh, man, I should have, tried to do something. Getting something is better than nothing.
I will. All four of us are dealers in some capacity, so I will defend them in this regard. At the National, I think you got to expect a little bit of a sticker increase, the sticker price increase. It's the Super Bowl of the hobby, as I call it. You're not going to have this is the most people in the hobby in one place at one time in 1 week. They're going to, that's kind of par for the course. And it's not just related to the cards. If you go to the concession stand, you can get an $18 chicken sandwich. So, I think
which is the same price of Zion right now.
So, Tony and Oz, I know, one of your big things, and it's also mine, right, is collecting what you love. We just talked about values just now for 10, 15 minutes, right? But collecting what you love and what you have a passion for. I know Ira said you're Philly guys, so you like your Philly guys. You pay respect to them. I'm a Brooklyn kid, so I love my Brooklyn guys. Shameless plug, I got to meet my basketball idol last night in Chris Mullin. I love that. I think we're seeing that movement, if you will, if you want to call it a movement, sort of grow more with sort of the price increase. And people just say, you know what? I don't have to, spend $1,000 if I don't want to or I can't. And I'm just going to buy guys that I grew up watching, whether it's live or on TV. I think that's great. You can't go wrong when you do that. I'm guilty of this myself. Sometimes we put too much emphasis on the prices of cards or what they're going to go for. If you want to talk a little bit about that, I know that's a big thing to you guys.
I mean, let's keep it real. You get into the card game, and the people that you invest in, you want to get something that you like, but you also want that card to increase in value. You don't want to get a card that's going to go, backwards. But at the end of the day, this is volatile. It could go up, it could go down. So if that's the case, you definitely want to get into something that you're going to appreciate and love. And, once you go home, look at your collection and not be disgusted with it. You want to go home and appreciate it, whether, it's your favorite player or, a favorite character in a movie or whatever it is that you decide to collect, or memorabilia. So, like I always say, if I go to see your collection, you invite Cousin Oz over to the house, I want to look at something that represents you. I'm like, oh, okay, you're a fan of Stranger Things, or you're a fan of Star Wars, or you're a fan of Mickey Mantle. That's your favorite player, whatever it is. Not just, hey, I got, this 86 Jordan, Gem Mint 10. I got this Zion Williamson. I got this nice patch card for, insert hottest football player. Just something that you can, just when you go home, you look at your collection, you just love it.
Yeah, that's and I'm going through it now. I'm buying cards, Nintendo cards. I think in the grand scheme of things, they're probably worthless to most people in this room. But to me, I'm like, you can come over and that's just a conversation. It's going to lead to, hey, this is what I used to do when I was a kid or whatever. And then it might open up something else. And that for us is huge. Like, we have our collections and they're not multi-million-dollar collections. They're multi-million-dollar story collections, though. And at the end of the day, like, I see people nodding their head. That's what it's about, man. Like, don't get me wrong. I would love to have a 10 or 12 52 Mantles in my pocket. That'd be great. But I can't. So in the meantime, let's just talk about, hey, this card is this, and remember we had this game, and remember this, and remember that. So yeah, that's
the connection with the event. Yeah,
yes.
that connection with the player. They're talking about who do you love. I mean, there's crazy people out there that collect Texas Ranger stuff. I mean, who would collect Texas Ranger stuff? And so, when you find somebody searching for 72 Texas Rangers, they don't have a logo on their hat. It's an ugly card to begin with. Who wants a 72 Texas Rangers card? But there are people who literally will walk this room and search through for 72 Texas Rangers cards. That's fantastic. That is the best thing you can have, is a passion for one thing and 500,000 square feet to go look for it. And if you can get out of here for $30 and a collection of something you love, that's a good show. If you want to sell it, also a good show. But enjoy it. I couldn't agree more.
I want to say, too, one thing I'm really glad to see here. I've been here 3 days since Tuesday. A lot of families, a lot of kids, right? I'm a kids in the hobby guy. I love it. I started as a 7-year-old in 1979. That's really sad to say because I do the math and I'm going to be 50 years old. But all joke aside, I love seeing kids in the hobby. But I'm seeing a lot of families, moms, dads, extended family coming to this event. taking it all in, and that's a good thing. And a little segue off that, following us here in a couple minutes, Pool Wax is going to do a kids hobby break. So speaking of kids, it's going to be a break geared right for them. So stick around, especially if you're a kid. For that, we're going to... Go ahead.
So that means you.
Yeah.
So what's the age cutoff on that?
I don't know. Yeah.
Whatever it is, I think my son's in it either way.
I know Brody doesn't qualify. But, thank you, everybody. Well, I'm going to let each show here kind of give kind of where you can catch them, social media stuff. We appreciate you listening and giving us some of your time. We'll start with Cousins Collectibles.
Yeah, so we have our podcast, Cousins Collectibles Podcast. We have on Instagram, it's Cousins_Collectibles. We've been in the game. We collected when we were younger, took a break, came back, when the hype started again, and we just decided to start talking about the hobby, the cards, and things that we love. So it's just something that we do that we really love. So if you could check it out, we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm just another one of the old guys who learned how to podcast after 30 years in the hobby. You can catch me on, I actually do live radio in Baltimore, 105.7, on the Odyssey app every week. We do a show on the hobby. Love to get people to call in from all over with cool items. And the Sportsbalt podcast, and I'm Sportsbalt for Baltimore, at Sportsbalt and all social media. And thank you for everybody for having me up here.
Yeah. Sports Card Nation, we're on Fridays. We release Fridays, I should say. That's an interview show. We have a guest every week for all walks of life from the hobby, from CEOs to 7-year-old kids, which is what it's all about. And a Monday show, which is shorter, called Hobby Quick Hits, which is the shirts. I'm going to give out a few here as we get off stage. That's Mondays. That's just me in shorter doses, which is safe for everybody. Most weeks, 20 to 30 minutes. I just usually pick a topic. We go over the week in hobby news and that sort of thing. So, again, I want to thank the powers that be here that allowed us to come up here and hopefully be half entertaining. But Pool Wax is next with the Hobby Kids break. I got some shirts, like 7 or 8 various sizes. If someone is interested in one, we can sort that out. I see a hand raised. So all right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
That's a wrap for episode 125. Hope you enjoyed that main stage audio. And, I never take it for granted, getting to go up there and do something I love and passionate about, and sharing those experiences with people I really get along with and like and think are great representatives of the hobby we are passionate about and love. And so, when I knew I was doing that, Danny, Tony, and Oz came right to mind. And, their first time wasn't my first time. I got to do that a few times now between Hobby Hotline and Sports Card Nation. But, whenever I get the slot, and I'm fortunate and blessed, I always try to share that spotlight, that limelight with others who I think are deserving, if I may be so bold, and appreciative, and those guys came right to mind. So, again, I want to thank them for doing it and accepting it, and I appreciate, those in attendance that enjoyed it, and those maybe listening now who enjoyed it as well. And hopefully it's something, I don't take it for granted, as I just said, but I hope it's something I get to do each and every year. And if so, I look forward to bringing even other different people up there to, share some of that shine, if you will. So, good note to end on. Be good to each other. Enjoy the hobby. We'll see you next time on Hobby Quick Hits. Take care.